Well, Sian, what we really know is who has not been fined. As you say, we know the Prime Minister is not among these 20. The other person we know is not among them is Simon Case, the current Cabinet Secretary. We know that because Downing Street has said if either of those two were to receive individual fixed penalty notices, Downing Street would confirm it. They have not been fined today. As for who has been, though, I have to say Downing Street will not name them. The Metropolitan Police is saying it is not their usual practice to name people receiving fixed penalty notices. Therefore, we may never know the identities of those people who have been fined. But leaving all that aside, the important point about today is we now know that the law was broken here.
By the time he arrived at today's ceremony at Westminster Abbey, he knew the police had identified 20 different occasions where Downing Street staff had broken the law on COVID, despite what he had said in the past.
No party.
I certainly broke no rules.
No COVID rules were broken. All guidance was followed.
He's not one of the 20, but for the opposition, today's news means he must quit.
Not only has he lied to the British public, but he's tried to get away with lying and breaking his own rules. And I think it means that he cannot continue as Prime Minister.
It was this mock press conference that ignited the scandal in December.
His fictional party was a business meeting.
Allegra Stratton resigned as the Prime Minister's spokesperson, but stories about parties in Downing Street and Whitehall kept coming. For instance, this email inviting staff to a bring your own booze party. Today, ministers were holding this line.
To be clear, the Prime Minister hasn't received a fine. He has always said he would come to Parliament and talk about it if he has and answer questions. And I don't think we should just get into speculation.
But for some, this is not about speculation. Lynn Jones could not visit her husband Gareth as he lay dying.
I wish I'd broken the rules, because if I'd broken the rules, I could have seen my husband. I should have banged that door down in the hospital and said, I'm seeing my husband, because they broke the rules and got away with it. And what's a fine? What is a fine? Nothing. When you think what I wasn't allowed to do, it's absolutely unbelievable.
Because of the Ukraine crisis, this MP withdrew his letter calling on the Prime Minister to resign. But he clearly believes Boris Johnson still has questions to answer.
If he knowingly misled Parliament, that is normally a resigning matter, yes.
So he should go, shouldn't he?
Well, let's see what number 10 say when we find out who's been fined and why they've been fined, and when we've seen the police report.
Under Boris Johnson, they made the COVID rules here. We now know, thanks to the police, that they also broke them.
Andy, as you were saying, still questions, but still upset as well. Where does this leave Boris Johnson, do you think?
Well, for a lot of people, he's most vulnerable on this charge that he's lied to the House of Commons, which would normally be considered a resigning offence. Downing Street still adamant today that the Prime Minister has not done that. In their words, at all times, the Prime Minister set out his understanding of events. But there are also another couple of things that could happen. For a start, the Prime Minister, in a further wave of fixed penalty notices, could receive one individually. That would be difficult. But also, at the end of the police investigation, that we will have the full report from Sue Gray. Remember that name? That's the civil servant who was investigating all of this. She has held back a lot of what she found while the police investigation has been going on. Once that is over, she has said she will publish the full report. In that case, there could be some details in that could be difficult for the Prime Minister, and today Downing Street said at that point he would indeed go back to the House of Commons and address issues that were raised in that. But the question is, will all of this eventually mean that figure of 54 MPs, Conservative MPs, will be convinced to have a vote of no confidence in the Prime Minister? Right now, I have to say, that does not feel imminent.